Coming up here on Mountain News this morning, lawmakers in the state capitol begin debating on some rule changes involving their voting process. And an Eastern Kentucky college starts up a new training program to help with the EMT shortage here in our region.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Good morning to you. It's Wednesday, the middle of the work week. I'm Dakota Makris. Thanks so much for joining us. And it's almost 5 o'clock. And let's head over to Brandon, who's joining us now. Brandon, it's a bit windy out there this morning. I almost was blown away walking into the building. I was like, what is this? Am I in Kansas or something? Where's Dorothy and Toto?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I was expecting it to be colder, but I think temperatures are actually going in the other direction this morning.
Mild outside.
Exactly. So we're looking at a warm up this morning, and you see most locations, at least on the airport sensors, in the 40s right now, except for Jonesville and Wise in the upper 20s and low 30s. So we may have to revise our morning temperatures up just a little bit, see how that trend goes here in the next few minutes. So we're going to keep an eye on that for you. But again, I'm basically probably going to trend up to 40 because that southwest wind is cranking in this morning. There's your actual wind speeds: 23 miles per hour at Moorhead, 15 in Prestonsburg, 12 in Somerset, 16 in Middlesboro, Monticello, and Wise. So again, as Dakota said, be aware of that, and wind gust up to 25 to 30 miles per hour. So keep that in mind. It's going to be a trend all day long. As I said, I'm probably going to trend this morning temperature back up to 40 and go a little further there at 9 and 11 o'clock. But I do think we get close to 50 this afternoon as those southwest winds continue. That will all change later tonight when they shift out of the northwest and we start to cool down. Dakota?
All right, Brendan, thank you. Well, the third regular session of the General Assembly to take place during the pandemic began Tuesday with the debate on rule changes. Now, one of those rules would allow members who test positive for COVID to vote either in their annex offices or in their cars, as long as they are on Capitol grounds. Lawmakers also spent nearly an hour debating a rule change that will limit how much time they spend debating bills.
With these new rules, we are taking this away from the members, and yes, those on the majority side as well.
So we are actually becoming more in line with all the other states in the matter of previous question.
Now, consideration of the first bills begins today. The House redistricting bill is on tap for the noon election committee, and the Senate president says their state, Senate, and congressional maps are also done. Well, this new session kicked off with COVID cases surging. 97 House members were in attendance, along with the majority of the state Senate, and some concerned lawmakers worry their peers are not doing enough to protect themselves and others, saying more precautions such as mask wearing need to be taken by everybody in these meetings.
We are at the peak of our infections, and yet here there seems to be no compliance for other people's safety.
Now, while that debate continues in the Capitol, decisions will be made on a host of bills, starting with a vote on one dealing with redistricting. Now, that vote will take place during a meeting of the Elections Committee at noon today. Well, on the first day of the Kentucky 2022 General Assembly, a lawmaker tested positive for COVID. Senator Reggie Thomas of Lexington, as a precaution, says he and his staff all took tests yesterday morning. And to his surprise, he was positive. He says he is asymptomatic and now in self-quarantine. The Commonwealth broke yet another record for COVID cases yesterday. The state reported a record 6,915 new cases. Now that brings our case total to more than 885,000. Now there were 21 new deaths as well, putting the Commonwealth's death toll at 12,255. The positivity rate is also at a record high, 21.74%. Here's what the governor had to say about it.
Omicron is spreading like wildfire throughout Kentucky. Everybody needs to get vaccinated and boosted. And folks, you have got to be wearing a mask when you are in public places and indoors right now. Not because anybody's telling you have to, but to protect yourself and to try not to spread this to other people.
Or you can always find the latest COVID-19 information on our website at WYMT.com. Attorney General Daniel Cameron is continuing to battle against federal COVID-19 vaccine mandates. Now, he joined several others by sending letters to federal agencies saying they overstepped their authority to implement broad vaccine mandates for federal contractors, healthcare workers, and Head Start program workers and volunteers. Cameron also says these mandates prevented feedback on how it would affect businesses. Well, Kentucky is seeing another surge in COVID-19. Now, doctors from Lexington's 3 major hospitals are attributing the increase to the Omicron variant. UK Hospital is treating 98 COVID patients, Baptist Health Lexington 85 patients, and St. Joseph 57. The spike in COVID cases is putting a strain on hospitals, and Baptist Health plans to reduce inpatient procedures, but doctors encourage getting tested at a local site and leaving the ER for emergencies.
In the meantime, if you haven't been tested yet and you're symptomatic, make sure you're staying away from other people.
Now, with students heading back to school this week, pediatricians say they're concerned about the low vaccination rates in children. Well, the monoclonal outpatient clinic at Baptist Health Corbin, well, it will be closing today. Officials say the current monoclonal 4 treatment option is not effective on the Omicron variant. Now, they say they used the existing inventory of the treatments and there are no more doses available for ER or outpatient clinic infusions. Harlan County Judge Executive Dan Mosley brought attention to the emergency medical personnel shortage in Harlan during a recent fiscal court meeting. Meanwhile, Southeast Kentucky Community and Technical College will begin offering a new EMT training program for free starting January 13th. Now, that is something the Judge Executive expects to be beneficial.
I want to thank the college for having the program in Harlan. It's very hard to get folks to drive to Middlesboro, to Whitesburg, or somewhere else to be able to get trained.
Middlesboro and Whitesburg are the other 2 campuses that will offer the class. Well, thank you so much for getting your Wednesday started with us here on Mountain News this morning. Coming up next, found out why your next trip to one of the Commonwealth's national forests might be a bit more expensive.
Well, today looks pretty calm. Some active weather is on the way back to the mountains. I'll track it for you and have our first call for snow in about 3 minutes.